Something which we commonly, encounter in halakha is this issue of the Bet Knesset, Kedusha of the Bet Knesset. We spoke about this already once or twice. I remember my friend Nisim told me, tell them don't talk in the Bet Knesset. He told me, remind them, not to talk. Right? So the truth is, he's right, about this. We already spoke about it, but just to remind you, right, what's the idea here? That in the Bet Knesset, a person is not allowed to speak divrei chol, the Bet Knesset, mundane things. Speak about the weather, speak about politics, Trump, this, right, whatever. They're better. You can go to your house and speak about these things. This is not by Hashem, over here. We don't speak about these things, politics and this. So says the Mishnah Berurah, even business, you're not supposed to speak about in Parnasah, in the Bet Knesset. Also, this is not, because you may think, well, it's a mitzvah to make Parnasah, so I can support my family. Yeah, it's true a little bit, it's true, but anyway, we don't talk in the Bet Knesset about these things, about the business and Parnasah. It's not the place for that. So, what should a person talk about in Bet Knesset? Divrei Torah and Tefillah. That's it, right? That's it. Nothing else really, everything else outside, bechutz, right? That's it. Yeah. Okay. The Zohar Kadosh, by the way, speaks very harshly about this, It says a person who comes into Bet Knesset and speaks Divrei Chol, Bet Knesset, it says, En lo chelek be'Elohei Israel. Doesn't have a portion in God. He has no portion, En lo chelek. Can you imagine such a thing like this? It's very rough, very, very tough for words. So a person has to be careful about that. That's one thing, because Nisim told me to mention, I mentioned it. But I also want to talk about another thing, which is regarding the issue of eating and drinking Bet Knesset. What about this? So the truth is, in the Talmud, in the Shulchan Aruch, it says that a person is not allowed to eat and drink in the Bet Knesset. Asur. What's the reason for this? Because it's not your house. It's a Beit Hashem. What are you drinking and eating over here? It's not a place for that. It's a kadosh. It's makom kadosh. It's a holy place. It's not for that. Your house is for eating. You go home. Ashrei yoshev betecha, right? Go eat in your house. Why eating over here? What for? What? What do you need to eat for? What you think this is like? You know what the problem is? When a person has this mentality to eat in the Bet Knesset, that shows that he doesn't respect. The presence of Hashem. He doesn't feel it. Something is wrong. Just like. Let me bring my lunch over here, my bagel and cream cheese, and eat, while they're giving a shiur. It's not the place for that, it's, you feel, you're too comfortable in the Bet Knesset, if you're doing this. That means you don't feel the Shekhinah, you don't feel the presence of Hashem, if you're doing this. Something is not right there, this is not the right attitude. So now the thing is like this, it says in the Shulchan Aruch like this, but there are some things, where a person has to know about this. Sometimes it is allowed to eat in the Bet Knesset, So there are many things. First of all, right, it says in halakha that a person is allowed to make a chuppah in the Bet Knesset, to do a wedding over here. You bring, right, the canopy, right, the chuppah, you put the talit, and you do, right, sheva brachot, erusin, everything, right, you can do it in Bet Knesset. And also to do the seudah, the chuppah, you can do also in Bet Knesset. It's allowed to do that. It's mutar. Not really the best thing though, why? Because now, what happens is that they come, the women, not sniut in the weddings, So what are you going to bring over here? The girls with the mini skirts, and the short sleeves, and all this, the spritzut. It's not proper, So that's why today, they recommend not to do this really, because there's no control, Once you bring over here a lot of women, and alcohol, and this, right, wine and beer, and this, becomes a balagan, No control, and becomes crazy, you lose control. So it's not really the best thing to do, but technically speaking, to do Seudat Mitzvah in Bet Knesset, you're allowed to do, So also Seudat Shlishit, same thing, right? If you're doing Seudat Shlishit, the rabbi does it downstairs. It's better. It's even better, But you're allowed to do Seudat Shlishit in Bet Knesset. Why? Because it's Seudat Mitzvah. So if you're doing Seudat Mitzvah, it's allowed. Now, this is the general rule, Yeah.
What we do here is sometimes somebody's Easter.
Right.
So we have Mazanot.
Yeah. Right, so this is no mitzvah, It's not a mitzvah to eat Ilul Ishmat. There's no mitzvah there. This is just a minhag, It's a minhag. So the thing is, really the best thing to do with this kind of thing, to do it outside, in the hallway, whatever. That's the proper place for that. But Knesset is not the place for that. What can you do? The rabbis said what they said, but here's the thing, right? Something interesting I want to tell you is that there is something like this brought down on the Talmud, It says that the Bet Knesset in Babel, right, which means outside of Eretz Israel, right? There's a Tanai over there. What does that mean? They made a Tanai that a person is allowed to eat over there, So in Eretz Israel, it's not like that. In Eretz Israel, the Bet Knesset, there's no Tanai. But in outside of Eretz Israel, there's a Tanai. But I saw in the Bet Yosef, I was looking there today, and I was looking there to see how he explains this, what's the explanation. So it says in the Bet Yosef like this, when it says Tanai, he brings there the opinion of the Ran, who's one of the big Rishonim. He writes over there, he says, that means like this, and also there's another thing which is written there, which is in the Shulchan Aruch, you find also there, same place, it says there that Talmidei Chachamim, and their Talmidim, who are sitting and learning, in the Bet Knesset or Bet Midrash, right, whatever it is, right? They're allowed to eat over there. Why? Because that's their home. That's where they live. They sit there all day and learn. So it's their home. But the truth is, the Rambam says only midochak, right? They're allowed to do that. Midochak. So what does it mean, dochak? Let's have to explain what this word means, right? So it means like this, that if they had to go home, to eat, it's going to cause them bitul Torah, Until you go home, you come back, this and that, right? It's going to be too much wasting time there. So therefore they say, that you can eat in the Bet Knesset in order to save time and not to do bitul Torah. This is what they allow. Dochak. That's what the Rambam says. And that's how the Shulchan Aruch paskins also, right? But he explains in Ran something interesting, right? He says that it doesn't really apply to all Talmidei Chachamim and all the Talmidim of Talmidei Chachamim. So what does that mean? It doesn't apply in a case where they're just coming there, for just like we come, like we come for an hour, we do mincha and arvit, right? And we go home, that's it. We do little divrei Torah, right? Little halacha, blah, blah, blah. That's not what it's talking about, says the Ran. The Ran it says, right, it explains, it's talking about where some of the Chachamim are sitting there all day, and they're learning all day over there. So therefore, for them, it's a bitul Torah to go home and eat at home. And that's why they allow them to eat, in the Bet Knesset, in the Bet HaMidrash. But otherwise, if they're not sitting there all day, learning all day, in other words, it's like a kollel, that's what a kollel is, right? Kollel, they come, Talmidei Chachamim in the morning, they sit there all day until 7 o'clock in the evening, and they go home, right? For dinner, to their family. Some of them even learn later, they go until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock sometimes they learn. They have also night kollel. They're learning all the way from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, God knows whatever, right? Whatever it is, right? They're all day, all night, they're there. So that's something else, So it says around, that's what they allowed. They made it Tanai, that you should be able to eat there. But somebody, just coming in for 1 hour, you know what I mean? What, you can't hold yourself 1 hour without eating? What, you have to eat the Bet Knesset? That's not the proper thing to do, Go home and eat at home. What, you don't have a house? You're homeless? What's the problem, Why are you coming here to eat? This is not a place for eating. This is a place for tefillah and Torah. That's what it's for, That's it. That's what it's made for. And when you do that, you're showing disrespect to the Shekhinah, it's not really proper. So the thing is, always the rule is like this, that if it's a Seudat Mitzvah, you're allowed to. It's okay, no problem, So whether it's Seudat Masechet, or Brit Milah, or Chuppah, things like this, Seudat Shlishit, you can eat in the Bet Knesset. It's a mitzvah, But to come here just to eat, for enjoyment, this is not proper to do that. You can do that at home. Why are you here? For what? What's the purpose to eat here? Even if you have something Ilu Nishmat, what I do, you'll never see me, by the way, over here eating the Ilu Nishmat. Never. You'll never see me. Because what I do is either I take it home, or I take it outside, eat over there in the hallway. That's what I do. I don't make I do Ilu Nishmat over here. Because it's not really, Ilu Nishmat is not really a mitzvah. It's just a minhag, to make some brachot, she'akol, right, mezonot, blah, blah, blah. It's not really a mitzvah. There's no mitzvah there. So that's the thing, so a person has to understand that. And, that's a part of the tshuva, process, that a person has to, elevate himself and go a little bit higher, try to do a little bit more, and that's the way, of Judaism, that's the way you got to do. I just want to mention one more thing before we do our Vit, There is some rabbi, unfortunately, I don't want to mention his name, but, he says all kinds of things which are incorrect, and, he doesn't do the research properly. It comes out, on the internet, and this, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. And he's saying things over there which are not true. They're not emet, they're shikr. So I'll tell you what this rabbi is saying. Unfortunately, I want to tell you the truth. He comes out and says, that they have some issues, in America. What the issues are? There are many places, not like here, Baruch Hashem. Here we have, Baruch Hashem, we have Shomer Shabbat, people are keeping Shabbat. So we have a kosher Minyan, everybody Shomer Shabbat, Yishtabach Shemo. Not everybody, but most of us are, right, over here. Majority of us are. I hope so. Right? We're Shomer Shabbat. But there are places in America, most of them are Mechaleh Shabbat over there. they're not keeping Shabbat. Go to places, like Florida, and California, and places like this. They don't keep Shabbat there like they keep over here, in this kind of area. It's not the same. So anyway, what I want to say is like this, that the truth is that I remember already Maran Rabbi Yosham, my rabbi, and also his son, Rabbi Tzak Yosef, who was the chief rabbi, they already said that there is two opinions about this. One opinion says, the main opinion is that if they're not Shomer Shabbat, they don't count in the Minyan. It's true, we don't count them in the Minyan. If they're not Shomer Shabbat. We don't count them in the Minyan. That's the main opinion, according to the halakha, from the Talmud. But there's also another opinion, which is what they're saying is that these people, who don't keep Shabbat today, they're Tinok Sheni Shabbat. They don't know what they're doing. Like you said, they don't know what they're doing. They're like children, like you said. That's the thing, So according to that opinion, there is room, to be lenient, sometimes to count them in a minyan when there's no choice. You know what I mean? There's no other people there. So either you bring these people, or you have no minyan at all, right? Zero, nothing. You got nothing, right? So what's better? So the truth is, that especially like people, institutions like Chabad, they start new minyanim in all kinds of places in America. That's how they do, They go to a place, there's no minyan there. They start like a new minyan. Chabad does this everywhere, So little by little, they build it up. They bring some people, blah, 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 blah. And, most of them are not keeping Shabbat. That's how they start out. And then, little by little, it could get stronger, as time goes along. I remember, also the Georgian shul over here. I'll tell you, they met. When they opened that shul, it was like 40 years ago. I remember I was here, and, they went to the Rabbi, the Rabbi was alive at that time, Rabbi Bavich, and they asked him about this, whatever. So he told them, like this, the Rabbi told them, start with them, even though they're not keeping Shabbat. Eventually, B'ezrat Hashem, things will change, it'll improve. And it's true. That's what happened, That's the way that sometimes you got to start, on a very low level. Otherwise, you got nothing, you got zero, So there are cases where you have to start, with Mechaleh Shabbat. And it says in the Yalkut Yosef, it says in Maran Rabbi Yosham, also in his books, that you're allowed to do that, if there's no other choice. So comes this guy, and says, no, this is sheker. Rabbi Tzak Yosef never said this, he says. What do you mean never said? It says in Yalkut Yosef, that's his book. It says over there several times like this, This guy's a liar, he's shakran. I don't know what's wrong with this guy, I think he needs to have his head examined. I don't know what's wrong with him, But the truth is, he says in Yalkut Yosef, you're allowed to do this. It says also in other books, the same thing. I don't know how this guy comes out, and says lies like this, blatant lies, He doesn't even look in the books, doesn't check what's going on. Nothing, I don't know what kind of rabbi does this kind of thing, It's very irresponsible, You just come and say things, you don't even check what's going on. So anyway, right, the point is, what I want to say is that, number one, a person, shouldn't lie about these things, First, open the books and check what's going on before you say to the Keilah all kinds of things, which are not true. That's one thing, Number two also, that, a person shouldn't, if he doesn't know how to do halakha, don't teach people halakha, teach them something else. Teach them mishnayot, or something, whatever, right? If you don't know how to paskin halakha, if you don't know how to do halakha, don't get involved with this, Why say things which are not true, They say the Chazal, that a person who says lies about halakha, incorrect things, he gets very punished. They punish him in Hashemayim from this, because he doesn't say the right halakha. It's very dangerous. They say, in the Pirkei Avot, whoever didn't get to Horah, he doesn't know paskin, and he paskins anyway, even though he doesn't know what he's doing. So what they do, we call him a shoter, rasha, the gasruach, idiot. He's an idiot, that's what he is. Rasha, and he's also arrogant person, like this, that's what he is, Why be like this, for what? What's the purpose of that? So the rule is, that when there's no other choice, and there's no other way to make a minyan except with Mechaleh Shabbat, in a place like this, you're allowed to do that, But if you have people who are Shomer Shabbat, of course, try to do like that. ברוך ה' לעולם, אמן אמן. רבי חנניה בן כשומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לעזור לישראל, לפיכך הרבה להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר אדוני חפץ, למען צדקו יגדיר תורה וידיר.